Greetings, this is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the lion's voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use I as an instrument to set the people free. Jah give her the powers to chant. Jah give her the powers to chant. Rastafari, the lion's voice.
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it takes the dust. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the lion's voice.
Yes, chat people, this is Michael Shamai representing. I will say, hear the lion voice, saying it is time for the lions and the lionesses to tell their own story. King David killed Goliath with a stone, we original dread.
The time has come for the lioness to tell her own story.
The time has come for lions to tell our own story. Yes, you're listening to Lion's Voice. I is Dejazmatch hailing from the island of St. Croix. Yeah, I'm bringing to you Rastafari vibes. Can you feel it? Rastafari. Babylon born when Rasta come together. Can you feel it? Rastafari, because Babylon done when I and I come together. Look how we live together, look how we work together, Oh, Babylon done when Rasta come together. Haile, Rastafari, His Majesty and Empress men and blessed. Yeah man, hailing from St. Croix, Rastafari, I hear you.
Aye.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice. Rastafari.
Yo, this is Zelle representing for DejKwasi and the whole lion voice family. Now listen this is the realest thing. Him closer to me than a brother. Him and me Jamie, I tell him I'm a lion. Me I go tell you how me feel, me I go keep it real. Me not go wait till me lay down on the mark. Lion voice never talk bad about me yet. Him realness me can't forget. Cause when I game time, him never bench me. Him never rise up against me yet. No, the friendship connect. It's funny how we can talk in front of a million people and never yet drop no catch. So a loyalty till death. Lion voice, and Selassie representing. Up. Lion voice.
The time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jaja soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lion's voice. Now put it, I Jollifer said that.
Greetings, this is Haile. The time has come for the lions to tell their own story. See? This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir? Haile said that. Are you satisfied? Wipe those tears from your eyes. I'm all alone, still you thought I was telling a lie. This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir?
I will never stop, hail the Most High, and I will never stop, call Rastafari. Blessed love, this is Kushite representing for the Lion's Voice. We are here to tell our own story. Rastafari.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to Lion Voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here, hear me now. Yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, Lion Voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion Voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion Voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion Voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion Voice.
Jano, I'm so hungry, bro. I haven't eaten all day. Like, my head started to hurt me too. Like, what more could I eat right now?
What about a city samosa? Get your samosa, a fusion of Indian, Jamaican, and African culture. City samosas, the best samosas in the city.
Rastafari! Them could never conquer the mountains. Thousands of years and counting. Ethiopia rise again unto the world. Now we are announcing. Them a plan for war, we a plan for peace. And now we see them wanna go dismantle the base. When the trumpet sound and the violence cease, how we say one go build up the cities. Well, them a plan for war, we a plan for peace. And now we see them wanna go dismantle the base. Rastafari crown as the Prince of Peace. Him tell the youths them fi build up them countries. Well, solar energy that them a see. The whole city powered by the sun's energy. The road them make out of hemp and concrete. Neighborhoods full of fruit trees that taste sweet. The youths put down them guns, them harvest and a reap. The beautiful gardens will line every street. Tired of the bloodshed, them done with the beef. Not even animals for that, them burn out the meat. Where people say Haile Selassie, I see Nile. When they see say him a treat the dirt like a child. Peace on earth from the banks of the Nile. That's why we giving thanks in style. See say Babylon a weapon, them a stockpile. Babylon a wicked, kill them brother and smile. Lion, Babylon a reptile. Them a plant fish, shed blood, we got plans for the soil. Them a plan for war, we a plan for peace. And now we see them wanna go dismantle the base. When the trumpet sound and the violence cease, how we say one go build up the cities. Well, them a plan for war, we a plan for peace. And now we see them wanna go dismantle the base. Rastafari crown as the Prince of Peace. Him tell the youths them fi build up them countries. No more gullies, proper sanitation. Proper toilets with proper filtration. Clean water for the youths them fi use. Our sons and daughters safe, no more child abuse. Africa arise, read it in the news. On the day when Rastafari ready, wicked have to move. 3D printing alongside hem shoes. Herb get legal. Well, front to us a son was born and a child was given.
I want to ask you a question. Have you gotten your book? Haile Selassie's Ethiopia Volume 1, The Rise of the Priest Warrior King. I've read the book in its entirety and I must say it's very inspirational, very informative and very historical, right?
Them call him Rastafari when he was born, rain fall from sky. Them call him Rastafari. When he was grown in airplanes he fly. They call him Rastafari. Lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Them call him Rastafari. Read the Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Then born near the city of Harar, the inspiration for Bob Marley's guitar. People crowd him like some big superstar. It no matter if England. Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bonsu, aka DejazmatchKwasi, aka Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man, creative industry attorney. I'm an author, I'm an actionist, I'm an artist, and right now I am the host of Lion Talk Live. Welcome to Lion Talk Live, and welcome to the Lion Voice Network, where the lions are telling our own story. Tonight, we continue with our Rastafari and STEM series. What is STEM? STEM is referring to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Sometimes we take it go STEAM when we add the arts, but because we have so many creative artists in Rastafari, we drop out the A, the STEAM for now. Because when we know of STEAM, we STEAM Irie, but we need to really focus on the science, the technology, the engineering, and the mathematics. We are the platform that is shattering the stereotypes about Rastafari. One time them think say Rastafari was just an artist. They think that Rastafari is just a man in the hills, or it's even a farmer, even though we're not seeing that image as much. Big up every farmer. But we want the world to know that we have engineers, architects, and I mean, we have mathematicians, we have technology specialists, and we have been featuring them here on the Lion Voice Network. So we honor and we respect the ones who till the soil, the Asian Aya Congo man, the bird imple them, all them man that we respect them. But we have a balance because Rastafari has always been an early adopter of technology. If we look at His Imperial Majesty importing the first printing press into Ethiopia, we look at the infrastructure in terms of roads. First road paved was at the coronation. We look at the building of bridges and major infrastructure in Zion. We see that His Majesty employed engineers and engineers from all over Iration until Ethiopia built up its local capacity. And we know that we had the ancient engineers. We know about Lalabella, them thing there. But we also know the prophecy say what? The highest of himself shall establish I and I. So when we look at the major modern infrastructure of Ethiopia, you have to talk about His Imperial Majesty Menelik II. His time, they were still living in predominantly makeshift accommodation. They had tents and them thing. The Addis Ababa started as a tent city, and then it evolved, and then Palace Bill and these things as the time progressed. But there were no defined roads. It was still horseback. Predominantly the first car Menelik imported, there was hardly any road to drive it on. So when you talk about the modern infrastructure of Ethiopia, you're talking about His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. Hence, the highest of himself shall establish I and I. Now,
this channel, we are also committed to the concept of the building of Tsion, Zion. I'm start spell it the Ethiopian way. If you notice the promotion, I was talking about the golden age, and then we watch a documentary and them say the Mason, them talk about the golden age. So we kind of park the golden age a little bit and go forward to the Ethiopian concept, which is Zion, Sion, Ethiopian conception of that heaven on earth, that earthly paradise. And why we focus on that here is because if it's not I and I as Rastafari to conceptualize and to build this concept, then it's who? You know what I mean? We are always been seen as the extreme. And if we don't aim to establish the vision that we have in our heavens, in our mind, then what are we doing? Then we become stagnant, then we become comfortable, then we become the same instruments of Babylon. So this episode, we are going to reason with a civil engineer, one of my elders, you know what I mean, who know I from my ballad, you know what I mean, coming around the Rastafari community as a young Ras at Howard University. Them man ya used to the, you know, in terms of the community and make sure things done in the community, you know. These when I met the brethren, he didn't have locks, and this is why you see on this platform I'm very adamant that you don't need locks to be Rastafari, because some of my elders them, you know, some of the most article Rastafari brethren, I come and see never have locks, and some of them still don't have locks to this day. Brethren have locks now still, you know. However, it showed I, you know, this brethren really taught I a lot in terms of growth, because he's quiet, you know. He's not a man, the man give everything. I don't know if there's anything happening in DC in terms of attribution and the brethren don't give. But he's not an upfront, you know, push himself up front brethren. So it's a great honor. These are brethren where I have to struggle with them to get them to come on camera. They don't do interviews. This is the value of I&I Network, because, you know, we're able to bring ones forward that traditionally you're not hearing from these brethren. And so the narrative of the ones who are in the limelight become what defines the movement. When, you know, the movement is vast, it's diverse, you know what I mean? As we say, we have doctors, you know, surgeons, we have herbalists, we have, you know, every occupation within Rastafari is present. So I want to show the youths them all over the world that when you embrace Rastafari, it doesn't mean that you give up your studies. You can be a civil engineer. You can be a mathematician. This brethren is a testament. I went to Howard with his son, you know what I mean? So I know his son before I know him, and didn't even know, say, when I met him, that he was my brethren father till much later down the line, you know what I mean? So this is a special episode for I. So you will see I smile. Wally is a brethren I know almost 30 years, 27 years. I know the brethren, you know what I mean? And he's been treading the same way from them time there. So big up everyone who's watching live. Big up everyone who will watch live. Before I bring forward the brethren, have to big up the Lion Pride on Patreon. If you subscribe, you're part of the Lion Pride. We passed 43,000. We're on our journey to 50,000. I'm still working on the 40,000 episode. Recorded it, had some technical difficulties. I have to re-record it. You know, we always drop a special guest when we hit, you know, every 10,000 we go. So the 40,000 special episode is coming. Give thanks for the patience. We just had our second town hall meeting for the Lion Pride on Patreon. That's our monthly subscribers. We're up to 38 monthly subscribers now. Big up the Lion Pride on Patreon. We had a very airy town hall meeting. And if you're a serious Rastafari brethren or sister and you're looking for that community, you know, if you go a little deeper and to build with, and create that virtual village, then the Lion Pride and Patreon is a perfect space for the eye. We had our networking, and you can go and watch the town hall meetings if you join the Patreon. Even as a free member, you can see the town hall meetings, and we open up the space for single brethren and sistren to meet each other, because one of the things that we're hearing is that brethren can't find a queen and queen can't find a brethren. A brethren might be the only Rassenheim town. And the thing is global now, we have technology. So this now we're partnering with the Lalabella Institute to make our Patreon a space where a single brethren and sistren can also meet them one another. We can get some firm families. Armageddon time, people have to couple up right now. It's not a time for you out look woman a stage show or the club or these things right now. You need to find a serious person you can partner with and lock in. 2 incomes are better than one. Get your repatriation plan or whatever your emergency plan. So we want to facilitate that. Lion Pride and Patreon is going to do that. So for all of the global family, join us as we build a legendary community online. Rastafari, serious people. Big up the Ubuntu Lion Pride. Our guest today is part of the Ubuntu Lion Pride. As I said, anything to do with Rastafari is a brethren we support the movement. So this is one of our Ubuntu Lion Pride members you're going to meet today. Big up the Action Lion Pride. You can do a super chat. You don't have to spend $1 with I am. Still love the item same way. Just what I mean. We try to take care of the housekeeping at the beginning of the episode because we have to make the thing work economically. But if you don't have $1, I still love the item the same way. You can like, you can comment, you can share upon the video. This is one family. Wherever you fit in, the Almighty call there, you fit in where you fit in. Whatever you can do is greatly appreciated of. Big up the watch and peep them too. The watchers who just watch and never said nothing. But me see them in the analytics. We're doing about 40,000 every 28 days. People watching the content. So big up all of the watchers. Big up the peepers. That's the ones them who come and we them have bad mind. Or them don't like you because who the rest think him is and why him always ask for money and what I'm to him, because anything him do should have free. What I'm to him, But I tell people this is one of the most dangerous places for your people, because if you watch this channel too much, it'll go clean up your heart, because you're gonna hear so much positive energy and you lose all your hater status. And you become all a watcher. Then you become all a Action Lion Pride. And then now next thing you know, me and your brethren. So this is a dangerous place for you as a people. I tell the item. But big up the item same way, because we need each and everyone. And everyone in the ecosystem plays their part in life. So, we take time before we bring our guests, because we have to take care of our housekeeping. And I want all of us as Rastafari Pan-African people, before you go out in the world to do your presentation, take care of your housekeeping. Make sure your house clean. Don't out a road and a flex and your house dirty or your house pop down. So we take care of the housekeeping and then we go into the things. Raslage, big up yourself. Ramia King Design, when I sip my water. Ramia King Design, big up Frontline Books. Sekou Tafari, all of the ones them, Brother Carl will put the link in the description for Brother Carl's book. All of the sponsors, everyone who has been supporting I, give thanks and Isis for the support. It's been a journey, and slowly but surely I see the community uniting around the platform, and we're going to do some amazing things. We're going to change the whole perception of Rastafari. We're going to build what we say we're going to build, and tonight we're going to talk about it with someone qualified. We're going to get the realistic viewpoint tonight. All right, housekeeping out of the way, family. Let me take the time to introduce my guest. As I said, my guest is a civil engineer. I've known this brethren over 27 years. His queen is also an architect too. So fully incorporated in development and well qualified to have this reasoning about building Zion. We're going to find out about his life, his journey to Rastafari. He's also a quality control manager working on major projects. I'm talking about bridges, roads, major infrastructure, multi-billion dollar contracts, building his own place in Jamaica too, doing some serious work. And again, one of the pillars here in the Washington, D.C. Rastafari community. Lion Pride family, please help I to welcome Ras Milton Evering, otherwise known as Rasbo. Welcome.
Blessing in the name of His Majesty and the Empress Mene. Blessing to all.
Yes, Rasbo. It's a joy, as I say, one of the elder Virgin Fries. So this is a joy to have him here on the Lion Voice platform. We have a tradition here, Rasbo. I'm going to ask the eye to step into our iritical Lion Talk time machine and to take us to the moment of your birth. Let us know where you were born. Give us the setting, the origin story that created Rasbo and your journey to Rastafari.
Blessings, my brothers and sisters. Now, I was born in Kingston, Jamaica, as I'm call it, Lining, and I grew up in Kingston, Central Kingston. At the age of 13, my parents bought a little home in Beaumont Gardens, and we moved from Central Kingston to Beaumont Gardens. Now, I attended Kingston College as a young man, and I played a little football. I did a little track and field, but everything. It was a good school, wonderful school. I wouldn't lie, wonderful school.
Yes.
Now, for the first 3 years of my high school, I was a pretty good student, and while in my third year, I started to embrace the faith of His Majesty.
Okay.
And it was transformative because I really didn't love school anymore. I wanted to find out about this great king, and so school really became secondary, and I started moving in different directions. By the time I graduated in my fifth year, I had not done very well academically. I didn't really want to learn about Babylon. I wanted to learn about God. So I really didn't put too much time in learning about school. Fortunately, I had some very, very good math teachers. And it seemed as if some of the things they taught me stayed with me.
Okay.
So after I left school, after my fifth year of high school, which if I had done well in school, I would have gone on in school, but I didn't do well. So I left school and was out on the street. Well, I was out on the street for a good little time, and during that time, still loving Rastafari, I was baptized in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church in my journey, and still on the street, not really having any direction, not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. Anyway, I had this little old man, real great Rasta man, named Brother Marky. Someone called him Brother Powdy. And Brother Powdy, he loved me like a son, and I loved him like a father, truthfully. He saw where I was heading nowhere fast. And one day, he said to me, he said to me, Brother Slim, they called me Brother Slim. He said, Brother Slim, the Emperor Haile Selassie I say he needs trained Africans to train Africans. And those simple words, I mean, they seem simple. He said he needed trained Africans to train Africans because he knew that with Africans teaching other Africans, there would be a level of integrity that you could not get from any other group of people. So that is where that actually stirred something in me that I said, you know what, maybe I can do something with my life. And just around that time, my mother came to me because she saw that I was really moving in the wrong direction. And she said to me, Milton, on the 22nd of August, you're going to be going to Canada. This was the beginning of the month of August in 1972. And she said, on the 22nd, I mean, I had about 2 weeks more to spend with my friends. Anyway, on the 22nd, I moved to Canada by staying with an aunt. You know, life was kind of tricky, but anyway, I stayed with an aunt and I was able to go back to school. And unfortunately, my ability in mathematics actually came to the fore. All that I had been taught at KC really started to blossom in me, that I started working very hard. Because in life, especially for young people, we must know that what we put into life is what life is going to provide us. If you don't work hard in life, you're not going to get anything from life. So I decided at that point in time that I would give it my best effort, because I really had limited opportunities now, because I made.
Where in Canada was the eye?
I live in Ottawa, Canada.
In Ottawa, okay.
I live in Ottawa, Canada, and I lived there for 8 years. I'm actually a Canadian citizen, you know.
Okay. I never know you have that Canada link though.
Yeah, I'm a Canadian citizen. But I lived there for 8 years. I went to school. I went to a college there called Algonquin College, and I graduated in civil engineering technology. It wasn't a civil engineering program per se, but it had all the foundation classes that I needed to participate as a professional. Anyway, I lived there for a while. I did a lot of things, but eventually I came to Washington, D.C., and I went back to Howard University, and I got my engineering degree.
Okay.
As I say, mathematics
I don't think I knew that you were a Howard alumni, Rasbo.
I am a Howard alumni, but I tell you, my route was very circuitous because I didn't graduate from Howard until I was 30 years old.
Okay.
But I tell you, God is so great, you know, the Father Almighty is so great that because I was a very decent, I'm not classifying myself as a good mathematician, but I was a decent mathematician. I was able to go back to school at Howard and graduate. I did very well, to be honest with you. And I did very well in school. And as a Rastaman, I graduated with honors with cum laude from engineering program. I was one of 3 students who graduated in my discipline that year with honors. And I said, it just shows you that, with the Almighty guiding you and hard work, all things are possible. There is no limit to what you can achieve. So I think I'm here to talk about a little bit about the young people who are coming up in this world, especially our young people who don't see any way out, because I think what we see in this society right now is glitz and glamour. We don't see the things that are really important and are instrumental for our upliftment. So our young people, they see Jay-Z and they see Beyonce, and that's all they see. They're not seeing the real things that build nations, that keep people, allow us to become human beings, to be treated like human beings. See? Anyway.
Yeah, so hold on, stick a pin, because I want to go forward. The first area that you spoke about would you consider it in terms of where you grew up? Was it a working class area in Jamaica I'm talking about?
Well, it's Central Kingston, so everybody working, everybody trying to make ends
What
meet.
was the name of the community in Central Kingston?
In Central Kingston? No, we didn't have a community name because, in certain parts of Central Kingston, it don't even have Kingston 1 or 2, It's just Kingston, Kingston. I lived in Kingston, Kingston. You understand? Direct downtown.
Okay.
So, me directly downtown. My father was actually a policeman. My mother was a conductress.
Okay.
And my father actually was a fairly high-ranking policeman when he retired, and my mother, was a housewife.
So in those days, was Central Kingston dangerous like now, or what? How was it in those days?
Well, in truth, we didn't really look at it as being dangerous. You had areas where you wouldn't go unless you knew somebody, but we were just kids growing up, so we were everywhere. That's the reality of life. We didn't walk with fear, and the few Rastafarians that were around, they were all good people, generally speaking. So I didn't have too much story about truthfully as a child growing up.
Do you remember your first time that you became conscious of Rastafari as a child?
No, that was when I was 13. That was when I was 13 years old. That I knew about Rastafari before, but when I started to embrace the faith now was when I actually was in KC, and a number of us, because I think our class was a very transformative class. We were one of the few classes that we started, brushing back our hair. We weren't dreadlocks, but we'd brush our hair to go to school. And we were allowed to do that. We didn't go to chapel. The headmaster would allow us to sit in our class and read our Bible, so we didn't have to go to chapel. So we broke a lot of the rules, but we were allowed to break them because we weren't malicious in any way. So we were allowed to break some of the rules.
What class was that? Shout out your class. What year class was that?
My class? No, well, my class, I went to KC in 1966, and I left in 1971.
Okay, so do you remember His Majesty's visit to Jamaica? Well,
actually, I did. I did. When I was 11 years old, I lived at East Street, just above North Street, at 113 East Street. Now, the Emperor Haile Selassie I, he was going to go to the Parliament building on Duke Street, and he would come up Duke Street. So I decided that, you know what, I want to see this man who they call God. So I, as a little boy, I'm 11 years old, I went at the corner of Duke Street and North Street, and there was a little open land that was there, which is now Jamintel. But at that time, it was an open land, and a man named Bagawaya used to live in that open land, right? And there were so many people that I couldn't get a chance to see the Emperor. So I went inside the open land, and I stood up on the wall in the open land, so I could actually see. I was above everybody. And I think this is when I actually embraced His Majesty. Because when His Majesty was coming up in his car on Duke Street going toward Racecourse, and I'm looking at this man because I really want to see why them said this like a man is God, And I'm telling you the truth. It's like my eyes and the Emperor's eyes made four. And as long as I look, the Emperor would not take his eye off me. Yeah, I'm serious. I said to myself, oh, this man just looking at me like this. The man just look at, I'm sure that everybody felt the same way because the Emperor have a way of looking at everybody at the same time. So that's how I felt. I said, oh, this man just looking at me like that. And he would not take his eyes off me. But like I say, it was just a wonderful thing to actually see the Emperor with my own two eyes. Yes. I think my father also was able to go around the country with him because my father was a policeman, so he actually traversed around the island while the Emperor was going around the island. So he actually did that too. So that was how I actually.
Your father still with us?
No, my earthly father.
Okay,
he died in 2013, so he died 12 years ago.
Okay, but I love reasoning about that child, boy.
It would have been a nice thing to have him speak with us, yes, but unfortunately he's not here.
No problem, no problem. But so 13 now, you're brushing your hair back, you and your brethren them at KC. Was Rastafari
Yeah.
sweeping KC at that
Mhm.
time, the youths them?
Definitely. A lot of young people started to embrace the faith. You know, you have Devon Anderson, Alfredo Lewis, Mario McLennan. As a whole heap of us started to embrace the faith. You know, a whole heap of us. I mean, too many that for me to even recall at this point in time. But I think that was the breakthrough when we started as a group of people. And after us, then it just catapulted into, you know, a lot more people embracing the faith. So it
And
was,
KC is one of the legendary high schools in Jamaica.
yeah,
Whole
and
KC branch of my family too. So, you know.
it was a wonderful school. It really was a wonderful school. It transformed my life in so many different ways. It taught me what perseverance is about, what courage is about. I mean, when you're in a 1,500 boys, you know, you have to know how to get along with people, to work with people, because if you don't, you can't survive. So it was a transformative time in my life, and I think it has stayed with me up until today. Some of the qualities that I learned while I was there, I still embrace them today as a human being. And they will be with me forever because I've taught them to my children the same way. You know, honesty, integrity, courage, decency. I mean, all these things I learned while I was in school.
Okay.
It was a very, very good place.
Serious
It was a
thing.
very good place.
So let's jump forward again to no, what I wanted to talk about at KC was the mathematics, because you said you had some very good mathematics teachers.
Yes.
And when we were
Well,
talking in preparation, you said something
mhm.
very clear about mathematics as it relates to STEM.
Well,
Talk about the
well,
mathematics.
well, okay. Well, in mathematics, right? You know, there was a mathematician called Carl Friedrich Gauss, and he's supposed to be regarded as one of the great mathematicians as a European, right? And he coined a statement that says mathematics is the queen of the sciences. And in truth, he's perfectly right. Because all natural sciences, all applied sciences are based on mathematics. All of them, every single one. I think that the Almighty, our Father and Savior, he is the master mathematician. I mean, because every single thing created on earth has to do with some kind of mathematics. Even music is based in mathematics.
Yes.
I mean, can you imagine? That means it touches every aspect of our lives. Even though we don't acknowledge it or we don't realize it, it touches every aspect of our lives. You understand? So it's such a special thing. For example, you know, we as Black people, we tend to think that our children tend to think that, oh, I can't do math, or I'm not. No, you have to practice it. You have to spend the time and practice, right? There's a bone called the Lebombo bone, right? It's dated to 35,000 BC. It is considered the oldest known mathematical artifact, right? It was thought to be used as a calendar or a counting tool, right? The Lebombo is in Swaziland, and that is way down in South Africa, one of those landlocked countries down in the south of Africa. There's another bone called the Ishango bone that's believed to be about 20,000 years old, right? And they used it as a lunar calendar, they think, and as a counting device. And that was found in the Republic of Congo. What I'm saying is that long before Europe discovered what mathematics is about, we had mathematical tools. I mean, we should not consider that we are limited, because we are the ones who started everything. So why should we be limited? Our children need to study hard, because if we don't study hard and learn mathematics in this time, we are not going to be able to survive in the future. Just even like a cell phone right now, it's so complex to even operate it properly. It requires a good understanding of mathematics. So we need to start teaching our children and getting our children to go into these fields. because we are not going to be able to survive. Now, I am a civil engineer, for example, and I became a civil engineer for the basic reason that I wanted to be part of something that could actually be beneficial to humanity. I didn't want to be a lawyer because I think it for myself, and I'm nothing with a lawyer, but I thought that it is, it's more self, it benefits more self than anything else. When I'm a civil engineer, I participate in building roads, I participate in building bridges. In my case, I've been on 6 FEMA assignments and I've been on 1 USAID assignment. My USAID assignment, which was my last assignment in that environment, was in Grenada. In 2005, after Hurricane Ivan had destroyed Grenada, I was working for a company that sent me, because they had some business with USAID company, and they sent me with a group of people to Grenada to help them to rebuild. And Father was graceful to me that we were able to rebuild 23 of the schools that were damaged in Grenada. But that is what I do, and that's what civil engineers do. We are people who want to build things for humanity. And that's how I look at myself. I want to do something that's beneficial to humanity. And we are going to need a lot of civil engineers for the building of Africa. I want to make a point clear here. We have been underdeveloped in Africa for all these many years. I mean, I've been to Namibia, for example, and people of Namibia, they were pushed out, and all the best of the land were taken by white people, or German white people, I think. And these black people have to go and live in some terrible conditions. We look at that, and I look at that, and it's a deplorable condition, and it hurts my heart. But I say to myself, we have been underdeveloped, but it might prove to be beneficial to us in the long run. Because, for example, in building roads and bridges, the technology is out there, right? We might not have it in a lot of our countries in Africa. However, we can build with the proper rules and regulations that are going to make it useful to us. So that what I mean, for example, if you're building a road, we want to be able to design the road to a certain depth or whatever is necessary to make it last a long time. So these are the kind of things that we have to kind of concentrate on. And because we are underdeveloped, the roads that we are going to build, the sewage systems that we are going to put in, the water lines that we are going to put in, the storm drains that we are going to put in, we can put all of those things with all the new technologies that are here. So even though we have been underdeveloped, when we actually come to the point of development, we could do something very good, because we have all these standards and that we know can apply. And they are standards that are proven and tested, so we can utilize these standards, right? So I'm saying we gave them mathematics. They use the mathematics to do all kinds of things. Now we are going to take the baton back. Understand? We're going to take it back. We want that knowledge back.
Yeah,
we want that knowledge base back.
You touch a key point there, because I always say that the underdevelopment was divine, because now we can leapfrog, and do the development right, because there's, we have so much more knowledge in terms of building materials. We have materials like hempcrete. We know what hemp can do. Mud brick, some of the ancient African things that they told us was foolishness, but survived thousands of years. I mean, we know now we can use. We don't have to follow a destructive path of development. But before we get into the topic of the show, because we're going to go way up into the wissy tonight, family. We're talking about the building of heaven on earth. Because heaven on earth are going to need some bridges. It are going to need some roads. The Chinese are building the Trans-Africa Highway right now through the Belt and Road Initiative. We're going to talk about that. And how the brethren feel about all these things that are happening. But before we do that, I want to set some foundation, and I want the eye to explain. So you graduate from Howard, what is a civil engineer? For those who may be watching around, what kind of work does a civil engineer do?
Well, all right. Civil engineers, it's a very broad field because okay, you have a civil engineer that like myself. We basically you have okay. It's a very broad field. You have transportation engineers, and they're all civil engineers. You have transportation, you have structural, you have sanitary engineers, you have environmental engineers, you have foundation engineers. I mean, a number of those areas, and they're all civil engineers. Okay, it's just that they specialize in different parts of construction, right? So the structural person would specialize in actually the design, probably, of the bridges and the buildings, right? Environmental, deal with all environmental things, right? Uh, the foundation person, if you're going to design a building, the foundation and the geotechnical engineer, those people have to go in and test the soil to make sure that the bearing material that is there can withstand the weight of the building. And so it's a lot of different areas of civil engineering, but they're all civil engineers. I more specialize in transportation, on the transportation side.
Okay.
Right? See, so I have been doing assisting in. I'm a quality control manager, so I was involved in building bridges and roads in most of my time. And in this general area in the DMV, I've been involved in at least 20 bridges, building at least 20 bridges.
Talk about some of those projects, major projects that you've been involved with.
Well,
I want
okay.
people to get the scope of the work that DI has done.
Well, okay, it's a variety. I work on the Dulles Greenway. When I started working with the company I used to work with, I started on the Dulles Greenway. Now the Dulles Greenway goes from basically from the Dulles Airport to I don't know what to call it now. Further, it goes further to the west. So it goes. It's a 14-mile road that goes all the way from the Dulles Airport all the way up to Leesburg, right? Leesburg. That's what I'm looking for, Leesburg. So it goes a 14-mile road that goes to Leesburg. I was in charge of the quality control on the first 7 miles of the road. It was split into 3 sections because it was such a vast project that no one person could really handle all of the work, even though it was only 14 miles. But we're talking about maybe about 30 odd bridges involved in that road. And then we have a highway on both sides, which is minimum of 3 lanes on either side. And we're crossing 2 rivers. So it was an extensive project. That was just one of the major projects I've done. I've done Route 110, which is a road that is right beside the Pentagon. And at one time, they were afraid that somebody could come and park a vehicle at that position and blow up the Pentagon. So we had to move 110 away from the Pentagon. I was involved in that project. But that was a nice project.
Serious.
Let me see. We actually tore down a bridge in Arlington, and this is actually a very complex project because we actually had to tear down a bridge, build a temporary structure, and come back and rebuild the bridge where the old bridge was, and then revitalize the entire interchange area and the intersections surrounding it. So that was actually another very difficult project because it was an inner city project. So you had all kinds of utilities involved all over the place. So that was actually a very tricky project, to be honest. And that project actually won an award, a national award, because of the complexity of it.
Wow.
I worked on Route 66 in Gainesville, where we actually were doing some found walls and a number of other things, drainage structures and things in the Gainesville area, which is about 7 miles. So and it's on 7 miles on one side, so it's 14 miles because it's 7 miles on the other side of the road too. So those are the kind of projects I've done, and a lot of these projects take a long time. You know? I'm talking about them as if they take a month
I
or two.
want people to know what Rastafari represent out there.
And the last major project I've actually been in other areas other than the civil engineering, because there's a route called Route 200 up in Maryland, near Bellsville. I worked on that project, but I was actually the person who handled all the traffic control. So the civil engineers actually have handled traffic control too. And so for the 2.5 or 3 years I was on that project, I was in charge of all the traffic setup on that project for the 3 years. And Almighty was merciful that we didn't lose anybody. Nobody died, although there were injuries, but nobody died on that project. And I give thanks to the Most High for that.
So speak to that, because the work that you're doing, sometimes people lose their life because bridge work and thing. Have you been on projects where people have lost their life?
Well, I have been on a couple. I don't like them very much, but I remember one time on that same job when I was on the Dollars Greenway, we actually had finished paving the road, and we just striped the road. When we stripe the road, normally you'll find a man who will go and he'll put some cones just to make sure nobody drives over the new stripe. And there was this guy who had he was a Vietnam vet, and he was the one tasked to put the cones out. Now, I was waiting for him to pass me at another interchange, and I didn't see him. I didn't see him for about a half an hour. So what the hell is going on? So I turned around and went back to where we're supposed to start. And when I went back there, I saw a helicopter on the road itself. Right? I said, what is going on? When I asked, the man who was putting the cones out, while putting the cones out, that man, he slipped off the back of his vehicle.
Oh, wow.
Driving at about 5 miles an hour, if so fast. He slipped off the back of the vehicle. And he hit his head on the asphalt.
Oh,
Right?
wow.
He got up to return to his duty. And somebody who was passing by saw it and called 911. And it's a good thing they called 911. So when I went around there, the helicopter that I saw was actually there to pick him up. In that short time, the man's head was as big as I'm telling you, a huge, just swollen up.
Wow.
So the helicopter actually broke down. So we had to lift the helicopter off the road, and an ambulance came and picked him up. That was the Wednesday, and by the Saturday, he had died. So he didn't die on sight, but he died.
But this is just to show the type of work on these massive projects.
It's very dangerous. I remember one night I was on 95, and we had set a lane closure on 95. And when we set lane closures at night on these roads, those lane closures are miles long, because you have to give forewarning and all the necessary advance notices. So they're miles long. And I remember there was a Jamaican officer. He was a state trooper for the Maryland police, and he used to sit with us at night. And he was sitting in his car, right? And somebody, a young lady and a young man, I don't know what transpired, but they came into the lane closure, and they were driving at maybe 65 miles an hour. And they hit that policeman's car in the back. The good thing, the policeman, he had turned his wheel toward the median. It hit him so hard that he went down into the median and almost came up on the other side of the road.
Wow.
Right? That man, he didn't die. That officer didn't die. But that was the last police work he ever did.
Wow.
He was injured so badly. He was injured so badly that was it for him. He couldn't work as a police officer anymore.
It's serious.
So it is actually very dangerous when you're out there. It's dangerous work, and bridge work is even equally as dangerous. But when you're up high, it's very, very, very dangerous. It's very
It's a
dangerous.
serious thing. Let me check my comments here. 1 second. Hamilton Brown, Lion Pride member checking in. Big up yourself, Hamilton. Greetings, Kwasi, and all the chat and viewers. Salam. Big up yourself, Hamilton, all the Massachusetts family them. Johnny Johnson, El Paso, Texas, Juarez, Mexico, tuning in. Big up Johnny Johnson. Big up yourself every time. Reverend, who's that? I stated we, us, don't have to die to experience heaven on earth plane seeing. Yes, we need civil engineering experts in roads from Addis Ababa to Shashamani. I was on the King's Highway in 1999. We're going to talk about Africa infrastructure. We're going to go in depth with Rasbook. Rasbook keep up with world affairs too. Fireboo, what's up, my brethren? Teach them a next Howard engineer. If you have not seen the culture, Ras culture episode, check that out. Or another entry in our Rastafari and STEM and next Howard engineer. Facts, brethren. This is when we were talking about the mathematics and music. Facts, brethren, 3, 4, and 4, 4 in music. Okay, and then look for my brethren from Howard Jelani. Say blessings to I Father and Kwasi, manners and respect. And then Jelani say the Rastas also work in Puerto Rico, Grenada, and Jamaica. So you see, that's how you know you live good when your son can come and big you up. And big up Jelani. Jelani was a big baller at Howard University. When I was there, Jelani was a big baller. And when I met Rasbu, I didn't know that he had any connection. Jelani and I were close, but every time we see each other, we heal up and we reason. And later on now, I think it was a couple of years after I started going to Bingos, and I realized that I was Jelani's father. So, and it makes sense because Jelani was always very grounded, you know what I mean? Balance, it never seemed hype on nobody, or I didn't know Rastafari at that time, but it makes sense when I meet him father and see the joy. Do you remember the first time seeing I?
I?
Yes.
Yes, man. I remember all of the youth them, because as I said to you earlier, that I think the best thing that happened in our Bingy house was the island. Honestly, that was for me the best thing that happened in that Bingy house, because they them come in and come learn about Rastafari, and I think that was and still testifying today. So you understand. So I think that was the best thing that happened in that Bingy house. I won't even go back into the rest of the thing, but that's how I feel about that Bingy house. You understand? The item were the best things that happened, and still manifesting the works today. So give thanks to the Lord for that.
You know what I mean? Because I was a ball at them time there, so these man were the man. All right, so we want to talk about Africa now. We want to talk about one of the things I do on this channel, Rasbo, and one of the things I realize with our movements is that and our global family is that we spend a lot of time talking about the past. We talk about Babylon. We talk about some African affairs, but we don't spend a lot of time talking about the future and what we want for ourselves as Rastafari. What does the alternative to Babylon look like? And if we're talking about an alternative to Babylon, we're not just talking about an heretical reasoning. We're talking about housing. We're talking about workspaces. We're talking about rethinking, how do we structure a society? And we see it here in the modern cities where they talk about work-life balance now and walkable cities, and the design follows the ethos of whatever people are designing the cities, you know what I mean? So we as Rastafari have reached a stage now, we need to start to conceptualize what do our residential spaces look like, what do our commercial spaces look like. Rasbu is a brethren I reason with, and when I reason with Rasbu, as a Washington D.C. community, we're talking about, working together to do some things on the continent. First thing Rasbu I talk about when you talk about land is drainage. You might talk about sewage. You might talk about, So I wanted to know from the eye, in terms of, building an alternative to Babylon, what are some of the things that we need to consider if we're building, say, Rastafari communities on the continent from a structural point of view, and costs, in terms of costs, what are we talking about? Because I want people to know the reality of all these concepts when we sing about Zion and all these.
Well, yeah, that's a very difficult question, because that's a question that requires a lot of people to really interject their own perspective. It's really a difficult question, truthfully, because there are so many things that we need.
Yeah, if we're building a residential, we want to build a Rastafari community, residential community. What are the things we have to think about?
All right, if you're going to build a community, for example, right? Well, you know that obviously if you're going to build a community, you're going to want to do a survey, right? To do a topographic survey, so you can get all the contours of the landscape, so you know what you have out there, right? And once you get that, then you can start saying, okay, I can start split up the land into okay, I know I need this much for road. I need, you understand me? You can make a look at design, you can grade your land to the elevation that you need. But I think one of the things that we need to do now is start to provide central sewage systems. In Jamaica right now, I'm trying to build a little place, and I had to build a little pit for myself, right? So I had to dig something and pack it, and we'd like to actually make it more centralized when we're doing it in Africa. But we have the ability to do it because we are so underdeveloped that none of these things exist. You understand what I'm saying? So we can actually build it from scratch and do it the right way. So we can put in as I say, you're gonna put in when you grade your land, first thing you do after you have graded your land out properly, then you're gonna try and see, okay, I'm gonna put in all of my sewage systems, my roads, my sewer lines, my water lines, all of these infrastructure things that are necessary for a community to survive, right? So once you have put those basic things in, then you can start sell the plots then and build your plot out and tie in everything together, right? So it's a very, I would say, inclusive kind of thing, which requires a whole bunch of thought, more than I can actually do at this point in time,
of course,
right? As we are talking
here. I put you on the spot.
But it requires a lot of thought, but it's not, as a man said a while ago, we want to enjoy heaven and earth, just the same like the white man does, right? We want our heaven to be on earth too. As I say, him can't have heaven in heaven and have heaven on earth too. So we want some of the heaven on earth, just like everybody else. You understand?
And please explain to some of our viewers, because some people don't realize that if wealthy people right now, they might live some heavenly life when you go some of these resorts and you see some of the settings and some of the amenities that are out there. I don't think some of our people understand what life can be like, because when you're impoverished, this is part of the disease of poverty. You become complacent and you accept that this is how life is supposed to be. One of the greatest things, Rasbu, that happened to I being here in Washington D.C. is gentrification. Why me say that? Because I saw ghettos transform into wealthy, posh
Mhm.
neighborhoods, you know, in under the space of 10 years. So
That's
it
true.
helped me to shatter that concept that just because the area stay one way, it have to stay that way always. And as humans, sometimes we take that. How, and you've been here even longer than I.
That's
So
true. Well,
how do you look at DC? What has happened in DC, and explain
well,
to the people what has
no,
happened?
I see the gentrification, and one of the reasons why things have been so bad in certain areas is poverty. People are in need, and you know we have money to spend on wars and do all kind of wickedness on this earth, and where the needs are, where people are hungry, people don't have food, clothing, and shelter, and we have a whole bunch of people on the streets all over the place here. But we are more comfortable sending money to foreign countries to wage war against other people. And those are the kind of things that we can do so much more if we were to look and tend to the needs of poor people. And that's the reason why, for example, in our communities, you find so much crime many times, because it's poverty. People are in need. It's not that people want to steal. I mean, I think if everybody had enough, most people wouldn't even think about stealing. But we don't have enough. People can hardly afford to wear a decent pair of shoes, many of us. And you can't find food for days. I mean, when things are like that are happening in our communities, what do people expect? It's not a deliberate thing that you're born a thief and that's the only way. You do it because of necessity. You go into a store, you steal some food, and you come out and you get arrested. It's bad, but you can see the person. It's food he want. And it's happening all over the place. It's really a difficult situation. People are in need, and that's one of the reasons why we're having so many problems.
How did you look at the gentrification to see the neighborhoods like Georgia Avenue? You know, some of the places that you saw, because you were here in the 80s when DC was the murder capital. So you saw DC probably at its lowest, and then to see it where it's now. How do you cite that transformation?
I don't like the gentrification because it's displacing black people from their communities. But on the other hand, it's bringing life. It brings some life into some of the communities which had no life before. So I can't really say it's a bad thing in some ways, but I don't like the fact that people are displaced, because the weirdest thing, if you are living in one of these communities and gentrification has come in, if you sell your place, you can't come back in. I mean, it's just, and your taxes go up every year because of gentrification, because, I mean, it's just the way it is. So there are positive things to it and there are negative things to it. We are not really involved in too much of the gentrification because we can't afford it. That's what I'm saying. But there are positives and negative things to it. So I don't.
But this is what gives Iman hope that we can really, if we have enough capital, we can transform the slums in Africa into thriving, green, eco-friendly communities. Because we've seen what capital can do. Because, and this is the part I want to talk about, because the projects that you're on are multi-billion-dollar projects, millions to billions.
Many of them.
Many of them. So, because some of us in Rastafari, we're afraid of money, we're afraid of capital, and I want the eye to explain to ones that when we're talking about nation building, we're talking about capital intensive development. Talk about the money involved in your profession.
I tell you, I'm gonna frame it this way. Africa is reclaiming their resources from all Western countries. I think it's a very, very important thing that is happening. Where if we, for example, we want repatriation as a group, there can be no repatriation without a unified Africa, right? Africa, I tell you honestly, but
You just spark something though, you know, because as you say, with the nationalizing of the resources,
yeah,
Africa,
that is the only way. That is the only way we are going to have the resources to do the things we need to do. Because
because
you know, if these foreign countries that are monopolizing the resources of Africa, they're not leaving enough for us to do the things that we need to do. So we need to nationalize everything as best we can, because
I,
we need those resources for our people.
I just saw an economist was talking. He said that gold has returned now to be the world reserve currency. He said the dollar has lost its place as the world's reserve currency, and gold, which is why the price of gold is continuing to rise. All of the central banks now are buying gold, and if you notice that several African countries have nationalized gold production, the latest being Ghana, have nationalized gold production in their countries. So Africa is going to be have the capital to really return her sons and daughters if the political will is there shortly, because of the fact of the gold. And then Niger just nationalized their uranium mines, which 90% of France energy come from nuclear energy. And they had a deal with Niger where I think Niger was supposed to get 35% or something like that. And when Niger audited the books, they were taking over 90% of the profits and everything out of the country. So Niger just nationalized, kick out the mining company and take over the uranium. So this policy is leaving Africa with, you know, literally from millions or crumbs on the table, billions of dollars, you know, of capital. And we have to say this, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali appear, because they're still early in their revolutions, appear to be reinvesting these monies in their people, you know. And that's something to be optimistic about. So in terms of you know, what I really wanted there to talk about is just because you come from the time when Rastafari brethren mostly a hustle, you know what I mean? We're not really, and it's customary to say we're not really deal with money, you know what I mean? But I want the eye, because we are here on the Lion Voice Network really trying to evolve I concept, because to build what we want to build, it's going to take a lot of capital. And I want the eye to just explain that these two go hand in hand, development and capital. Because when Ras Boo talk about a survey, you know what I mean, of land, say a 10-acre, you know, what kind of cost is that to call a surveyor out in America?
Well, okay, a survey depends. A topographic survey for 10 acres would probably cost you about $30,000.
You
More
hear
than
that?
that. If it's a friend, actually, you might be able to get it for about 30,000.
So you hear that, family? So
No,
the
all right. Let me give you an example. When I was working on the first job I worked with the company, it was virgin land, and they were building that 14-mile highway, right? And the price of that, this is 1993, right? This is 1993. And the price of that road was over $600 million. This is 1993. And that was utilizing every resource at hand. We actually built a concrete plant on site. We built a crushing plant to crush the stone, so we didn't have to buy crushed stone from anybody. So you could have used it for the base of our roads. And so we had concrete plants. And one thing I want to say now, see, in Africa, we have a lot of iron ore, for example, and we need to start manufacturing things, because you know, for example, the waste, right? The waste from the iron ore plant, you know, that in America right now, that is being used to make concrete as one of the constituents of concrete.
Okay.
And like blast furnace, they call it blast furnace slag. Those things are waste material, but now they're realizing that you can put it, guys, so fine, you can actually mix it in with cement, and so you don't have to use so much cement, and over time you get the same amount of strength. So there are lots of things that you know in Africa that we can do, but we need to become people who manufacture things, right? And Burkina Faso is trying to go in that direction, but it's not too many other African countries can say yes, we manufacture anything, because you know the white man don't really want us to manufacture anything. They want to keep you in a state of dependency. So that when you're dependent like that, then they have control of you. When you start manufacturing, then they start losing control, and they don't want that. See, so I think that is where we as Africans need to start start getting to the manufacture of things. You know, I was reading something, for example, recently about Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso produces a lot of cashews, right? And the cashew fruit that Burkina Faso was was being wasted because nobody uses it until they realize that, listen, we can actually take the fruit and we can juice it and we can sell it to other people, and we can make some money from it. So they set up a plant, a manufacturing plant to make the juice and make wine out of the cashew, and it's doing very, very well. So we have to start manufacturing. So that if we don't manufacture, then I say we're at the behest of the white people, because that's how it works.
And one of the things you know, I wanted to talk about tonight when I have the eye here is where are our Rastafari construction companies? Because I feel two of the areas on the continent, two industries that we have to get into is agribusiness, agriculture, and construction. You know, I think those two, in terms of the branding of Rastafari on the continent as we return, the building of Zion, because Africa is building at a breakneck rate. You know, don't if any of the items have not been, you think construction are going on DC, a beer crane in every African city right now because foreign capital is pouring in. How do you feel about us as Rastafari building construction companies, and what would it take to move in that direction?
Okay, capital, first of all, definitely will take a lot of capital, but it takes a good knowledge base and that's why our children need to concentrate on this STEM thing. Yes, they need to go to school, because Africa is going to be opening up. Africa is the only place where, I mean, mass development is possible right now. I mean, we have a continent, one of the largest in the world. I mean, it's such a large place that America, China, India, all those countries, and Russia probably could have gone to Africa and still have place for a whole heap more other countries.
Yeah,
you understand that? So we really, it's a lot to do. It really is, you know. It really is a lot to do, brother. It really is a lot to do.
So in terms of Rastafari construction company, what would be some of the first steps that we would need to take? I'm trying to inspire someone to take these steps, you know.
Well, I tell you something. It's hard to say, because a lot of, for example, just look at it in Washington D.C. Yes, right? And you a black company in Washington D.C. trying to get a little foothold into the system. You have to know people. You understand?
To get the contracts.
You have to know people, because really and truly, you know, relationships make a lot of this thing going. It's not. Sometimes you might have the best bid, but the relationship between the person who is the owner and somebody else might be better than your relationship with the owner, and decide to go with the person that him know better. You understand? Because it's life really is about relationships. In your life, my life, it's really about relationships. It's an important part. So to develop those relationships in Africa, they're not so easy. So I think if we are going to start something, what I think we might be able to do is going into home building. That might be one of the easiest ways to get into major construction in Africa, because it's difficult to get into road building. It takes a lot more resources to really get into road building. So that might be the best way to get into the market, is to start building homes. And then once you have enough capital now and equipment, then you can start thinking about dealing with roads. Right, be a little bit, you understand? For example, in Washington, D.C., you have a company named Shirley and you have a company named Clark. It's the same company, right? But Shirley builds roads. Clark, you can see them name and everything around the place. They build high-rise building, right?
Yeah.
So that is how, you know. So, but they couldn't do everything at one time. So it actually was. The one company was independent, and they were both independent companies until Clark bought out Shirley. So Shirley is now the arm that does the roads and one does the building. But that's the kind of way you have to kind of structure your thing. You know what I mean? Because it's very, very hard to be doing all of them together. Right? It's very hard. So you have to have one unit that does something here and one unit that does something there. And I think in that way you can actually make a headway. So
okay, I think is this your daughter here, the great Nia Irving?
Yeah, that's my daughter.
Okay, this is a very good conversation. Relationships and networking is vital. Give thanks. So you see, family. That's when one man live good with him children.
Well, she's a liar like you too, you know. So.
Okay. Big up yourself. Where did she go to law school?
She went to American.
Okay, right around the corner. I used to study at the American Law School Library when I was at Howard before we got our library.
And I tell you, I'm very proud of her too, because she passed the bar the first time.
Yeah, man, that's a huge achievement. But yeah, man, the building is so key, and I wanted the eye to talk about just the reality, because I think we think so small, because anytime we're doing fundraising, we're talking about let's keep a show, and the show you might get $100 after you pay your expenses if you're lucky. Sometimes you end up spend more than you made at the door. So I want people to see that if we're really serious about building an alternative to Babylon, we have to expand our thinking. We have to think in millions of dollars. And it's not that we cannot do it, because we have numbers that we can get this capital, but we can't get it in the conventional ways. Maybe we have to come together, collective security, because we supposed to can find 50,000 Rastafari brethren and sisters, you know what I mean, who could put up $5,000, them way there, to do a project. But
I think right now, black people, because I will take it beyond Rasta.
Yes.
I think black people need to start supporting black people. It's the only way we're going to get out of the situation that we are in. For example, you have this thing going right now. We need to support it. But at the same time, you have a responsibility to us also, that you are going to put back something into the community. Understand? So we can support you and you don't give us. I think that is a problem that most of us are seeing here. People come into our communities and we support their businesses and we get nothing from them. And I think we need to get that's the formula for us. That's not our formula. We can't work with that formula. I'm willing to support any cause that is for the righteousness of black people. But I want you to give back something when you get the support. It has to be like that. I can't give you and you don't give me back. You understand? So I think that is where we need to start supporting each other, supporting the black ventures. We say it all the time, but we need to do it. You know, speaking is one thing, but doing it, that is what it's going to fulfill. Understand?
And this is coming from one of the members of the Ubuntu Lion Pride. So him live where him attack people, him support the channel, and the brethren call I and say we want to support, you know. So I never had to go ask the brethren make I know say him want support. So he's living this thing that he's talking about. It's so important. And yes, we will be giving forward, you know. One of the visions we have with this channel is to sponsor Rastafari events, because as a promoter myself who did, you know, events all over, we realize sponsorship, if you're doing cultural events, is one of the most difficult part, because most of the time you're dealing with alcohol sponsorship when you're dealing with entertainment, and that don't fit I and I liberty. And so we're very limited in terms of our cultural events. Big up Tony Rebel. He's been fighting the good fight in Jamaica with Rebel Salute. He doesn't take any alcohol sponsors. But I know he's had a rough time and don't get the same support that some of the bigger festivals get, because they can go Ray and Nephew, they can go Red Stripe, they can go these alcohol companies. So that is one of the things we want to do at the Lion Voice Network, is to be able to sponsor events, cultural events, and things like that, that positive works that are happening globally in the Rastafari community. All right, so I also, one of the reasons that I convinced Rasbo to do this interview, because them man you don't do interview, you know, this is how you know say me boss, because we get Rasbo for come on a camera. The one you don't do interview, but one of the ways I convinced him, I said, Rasbo, you have to tell the young people, you know, the importance of STEM and how, you know, how this can transform their lives. And you heard the brethren say that he actually dropped out of school and was in the streets moving around for a time, but he was able to embrace mathematics, his mathematics training. I want to go more into why STEM is so important for the youths them in this time. I want you to talk to a young youth in a Central Kingston right now.
All right. Don't remember, right? Them say what STEM is what? Science, technology, engineering, and math, right? That is where, in all honesty, most of the jobs in the future are going to be. You understand what I'm saying? That is where most of the jobs in the future are going to be. So we must start now to train our children in those areas. And it's not just in America, we're talking about in Africa the same way. Because Africa is actually, you know, gaining a foothold as far as technology is concerned. We're rising. And you know, as the emperor say, you know, them say Africa is on the ascent, which when realized will be unparalleled in the history of humanity.
Yeah, man.
Right? So that is where we're on the ascent. So we definitely have to start putting our children in areas that they can. I mean, it's their time. It's the young people time. It's their time. So we need to start putting them in environments where they can actually manifest, you know, the talent that they have. I mean, we have to start, you know, really, we have to start putting them in these areas to study, to make sure, you know, the Indian people them come from India, and the Chinese people them come from China, and them come here, and what them do, the parents put them right into the mathematics, right?
Yeah,
because
they're dominating right now. They're dominating the street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, and all the people that want, mind you, MIT and those guys, I don't really care about them, but most of the people that want to go to MIT, over Indians, only for Chinese people. And then people that get, you understand? We don't have many Africans in those areas. We need to start putting our children, and when they tell you, oh, I can't do maths, say, listen, man, we are the ones who created mathematics. You can't do it because you don't put the time in. You don't put the time in. I'm going to give you an example. For example, right? When I left Canada, I came to Washington D.C. and I had not been to school. And this is reality. I had not been to school for 6 years, right? And I decided I wanted to go back to Howard. So when I went to Howard and I showed them my transcript, I got however many credits for what they would give me, right? So I just get my thoughts together, right? What was I said the last thing that was?
You're talking about when you came to Howard, you're getting your credits together.
Okay, when I got the credits, right? One subject I had to do, I only had to do one more math class, right? Because I had done all my calculus before. I had to do one more math class, which was differential equation. Okay. Now, when you go in, when you're an engineering student, if you're into electrical, you have one more math class than that. But all the other most of the other engineering disciplines, differential equation is the highest level you go to. No, I had not done any math for 6 years, and I had to go and do that class.
Yes.
So when I went to the class, I tell you the truth, there's a guy who taught me. He was from the University of Chicago, right, named Dr. James, and he was deaf. He was deaf. So he was deaf and dumb, really, technically, right? Yes. So he wrote everything on the board. Anyway, when we went to the class was full. And he said, okay, we're going to have an exam. First class, we have an exam. And in that exam, he gave us some questions. And when he marked the question and came back, and I saw my grade, I'm not going to lie to you, my grade was 35%, right?
Yes.
So I said to myself, man, I have to drop this class. I can't take this class, right? But I heard him say, anybody who got less than 25, drop the class. I said to myself, wait, I got 35. I'm not dropping. And I actually, at the end of that class, by the grace of the Most High, I got a B in that class, right?
Yes.
But I studied, it's like that. I studied it as if that was the only class I had, and I had other classes. But I realized that if I had not done that, I would never have graduated. Okay. Because I had to study every day. I had to put in the time. So I had to go back and do calculus 1, calculus 2, calculus 3. I had to teach myself all that information over again. Okay. But because my foundation was solid, I was able to actually teach myself.
Okay.
You understand? So that's why it's so important. That's why mathematics is so important. I was able to go through that, and I was able to do well enough that everything worked out for me. You understand? Okay. So it's such an important thing. You have to put in the time. Honestly, in anything in life, if you want to be a good musician, you have to practice. Anything that you do in life, you have to put in the time. Right? If you don't put in the time, you're not going to reap any rewards. Right? So that is that's just part of my trade in this earth.
What was your first job out of Howard?
Actually, my first job, I worked with a company called Legion Design Systems. Mm-hmm. I was designing basically doing civil design, and it was water, sewer, any kind contours. Just general civil work.
Okay.
Just general civil work, and then I went and worked with a company called DMJM, which is Daniel Mann Johnson and Mendenhall. They're actually the largest engineering firm probably in the world right now. That's not the name of it anymore. But I don't remember the new name, but they're the largest engineering firm in the world right now, that company. And I actually got some very good training with them because while I was with them, I actually designed like the Naval Academy. I did the backflow. I was the one who did the backflow analysis. What happened is that they have, they have some storm drain lines going out into the sea, right? But it's right on the sea, right?
Yes,
The Naval
yes.
Academy is right on the water. So there are some storm drain lines that go out into the sea. So at high tide, those lines, those pipes are covered. So we are to analyze how much it backed up the water into the property at the Naval Academy.
Okay.
And so I had to do a design to analyze all of that. So, and then also, with that company, I did a design for a place called CBAF, which is a Continuous Electron Beam Accelerator Facility. It's in Newport News, Virginia. And that place now, that's where they have the collider, the super colliders. That's the one on the East Coast right now. That's the only one. You have one in Texas and you have one at the Fermi Lab in Chicago. But that's the first one that they built in this area, that they built it at the Newport News. And I was the engineer who did all the civil work, all the civil design on that property. Wow. That means I did all the drainage, all the grading, everything. So I had to analyze the entire site. And we're talking about, it might have been about 70 acres or 80 acres of land, more than that.
Serious.
So you have to analyze the entire place, and you have it's a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, you have to grade each place individually, make sure the water going where it's supposed to. Because control of water is actually very, 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 very important.
Very important.
It's very important to be able to control water. But water is a powerful thing, Air, fire, and water. Some Rasta man tell you about air, fire, and water. Water is actually an extraordinarily powerful thing, my friend. Water. Remember, say, water, the Father destroyed the earth with water, right? And then say it's fire and wind, it's fire next time, but it's water I'm use. So water is a powerful thing, Rasta.
Yeah, man. Serious. I remember that I first tried to Africa. Share with us, what that experience was like and where that went the first time you touched on the motherland.
Well, the first time as a Rasta man, the first place I wanted to go was Ethiopia, right? And I remember in 2007, when I think it was the 12th of September, when I actually touched down in Addis Ababa, in Bole Airport, and then the first thing I did, I actually bowed down and kissed the earth, so I could, touch the earth and kiss the earth, It was an extraordinary experience for myself. It was an extraordinary experience to just touch the motherland and know that this is where all of the history of my people come from. I mean, not necessarily Ethiopia, but the continent itself.
Yes.
I tell you, I can't tell you too. Words can't really express the feeling I had and the feelings I've had. And I'm thankful that, my wife has been to Africa and a couple of times. And my youngest daughter, she has actually lived in Africa for a period of time. So, I think my family, they're not afraid of being in Africa, which is a good thing for me. They realize that this is our home, this is our motherland, and it's just a wonderful feeling. It really is. I can't really express it, so you have to go and feel it for yourself. I went to Shashamane, I went to Wanda Ganesh, I went to a number of places in Ethiopia. I didn't go to certain places, for example, which I wanted to, which is to go to see the Lalibela churches. I wanted to see that. I wanted to actually go and see Lake Tana, which I didn't get a chance to go see that. I wanted to go and see the Holy St. Mary of Zion Church where the Ark of the Covenant sits. I didn't get a chance to go there because in Tigray at that time, it wasn't a safe place to really, travel, because there were some bandits out there at night, and it wasn't safe. It really wasn't safe, you know what I mean? So, but it was just a wonderful experience for me touching down on the continent, and I hope that I can do it very soon again. I want to make a trip myself I would like to go forward to Ethiopia, and I would like to go to Egypt the next time.
Okay.
Kemet, I would like to make that trip and to see the greatness of my ancestors. So I really would like to make that trip at some point in time.
Especially as a civil engineer, don't it?
Oh, well, it's something that I want to see, and there are a lot of other things there that I would like to see too, as far as engineering is concerned. So definitely I want to see the pyramids, and you know, there are a lot of things. I want to see how certain things were built with the Nile, and I just want to see a lot of things. I want to see a lot of things there. There's a lot for me to see. But I want to actually go with someone who actually knows how to read
the hieroglyphs.
Call hieroglyphs, call it metadata.
Yes.
I want to read the language of our ancients, you know. I want to go with someone who knows how to read that, because I think without that, I don't think it would be a fulfilling experience.
I think there's an elder here, Tony Browder, that does tours.
Anthony Browder, yes, a Howard graduate also.
Okay.
I would like to make that try with him.
Yeah, man.
I would like to make that try with him.
Because he's doing excavations and all kind of thing too.
Yeah, man. I think he's the first one as a person from the West, and black person who actually has an excavation there in the Nile Valley.
Yes.
Actually, paying for it. So that's a big thing. That's a major thing.
Major.
I have great respect. I have great respect for him. Great respect.
So you have to try see if we can go with Tony Browder.
Definitely.
And make that Chad. Anthony Browder. Anthony,
Tony Browder.
Yeah, Tony, yeah, they call him, yes. But talk to us about Jamaica now, because I know I love Jamaica to your heart. You know what I mean? What you know, as a member of the diaspora, you know, you live outside decades. And I think that those of us who born in Jamaica who live outside, sometimes it gives us an insight into how things are happening in the island, because you're coming in and you're seeing snapshots, you know what I mean, of the changes, where the people there, it's just a change and they don't really recognize. What kind of things do you think is lacking in Jamaica right now? And what do you think is needed to bring forward Jamaica to the cultural superpower it should be?
I tell you, for myself, I think for the most part, the young people need opportunities, my brother. If you don't provide opportunities for these young people, they are very intelligent, and if you don't provide opportunities for them, they are going to put their intellect into something that is not going to benefit you. And I really believe that we need to make sure that when kids come out of school, them get some either vocational training or some advanced training that them can get some work. Because if them don't have opportunities to feed them family, you know, them going to pick up a gun. I mean, them have to feed them family. Them going to do it however they can. So it's imperative that we find opportunities for the youth. Jamaica is a fairly young country. I mean, we have a lot of young people doing nothing. True. You know, a lot of young women out there, you know, they turn to prostitution because they don't have no other opportunity. The young man turn to the gun because they don't have no other opportunity. And we need to find some ways to change that narrative. We have to change that narrative.
What are some? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask you, what are some of the changes that you have seen? Because I know you go to Jamaica regular. What are some of the changes that you have seen?
But, you know, I tell you something. We don't know if we say the change, you know. Because the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. Honest to God. Me no real. If they don't find some way to employ these young people, we have a catastrophe on our hands. I'm serious. It's the reality of life. You know, I really don't see much of a change. I mean, I truly don't see much of a change. Poor people getting poorer and rich people getting richer. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm trying to build a little house in Jamaica, and I'm telling you, because I don't deal with hustling, and I don't, I'm doing it as I have money, I do it, and I've been building now for 10 years, and I'm taking my time and do my thing.
Yes,
But I mean, people just suffering, man. People just suffering. It's just the way it is. It's just the truth. People just suffering, my brother.
Do you think we
I don't
need
know
a
what I don't know what we're going to do with Jamaica. I don't know what we're going to do with Jamaica because crime is on the rise. Although my last visit, crime seemed to have subsided somewhat, but it'll rear its ugly head sometime soon again.
Yes, I understand. I think they're in one of their lowest murder rates in a long time, according to the numbers for this year.
Mhm.
But what do you think? We need a massive workforce training program.
We definitely need that. We definitely need some kind of vocational training for those kids who don't want to go for further education, but they can. So we have a lot of things that we can do, but we need to get the vocational training program going so that people can come out there. They can be a mechanic, electrician, a plumber. You know what I mean? And then we also need to start probably getting somebody, they call it, um, building an environment where solar energy, is more functional in our country. And
Yeah.
if we have a industry of solar energy, we can employ a lot of people because you can outsource that kind of work. So we need to, get the solar energy thing going as best we can, so we can cut down on our costs for electricity. I mean, a lot of things, but things like that you can outsource. So those are the kind of jobs that we need that cannot be outsourced. Same in America, the same thing. If we do the same thing in America, we'll be able to employ a lot more people because there are jobs that you cannot outsource. You cannot take people from somewhere else come to that. You understand? You have to use people that are there. So I think that Jamaica needs to do that. Start providing things that jobs that you can outsource. That we that way you do it, it benefits the people of the island. I don't know. You have many better minds than me. You can think about those things.
No, but as someone who is invested in the country, I think what their opinion is valid. And as someone who has raised successful children, I'm here say one of your grandson are get ready to go college, so you're on the next generation now. You know what I mean? I think they are well qualified to give an opinion, and we need to hear from ones like the I in terms of creating a better Jamaica, and Jamaica now is part of the sixth region of Africa. So one time we would have said we're not going to give up a continent for an island. No, we have updated that to say we want the continent and the island. You know what I mean? Because the island of we know. You know what I mean? All of the CARICOM nations are part of the sixth region of Africa. So that means that we are also responsible for these areas. And what I notice in Jamaica when I go is the cranes in Kingston, the construction that's happening, a gentrification in a sense, a redevelopment of the downtown area, down at the waterfront there downtown. And I noticed that all of these notorious inner city communities are on valuable real estate. You know what I mean?
I tell you, and that is definitely the truth, without a doubt. I see you have something about Fleet Street. No,
yes.
You know that. I'm telling you that those lands will never go back to those people. You mark my word, because that's prime land to build all kind of buildings downtown in the Fleet Street area, Hanover Street, all of those little areas down in there, so the Lad Lane, all of those areas.
Yeah, man.
Skill
And
development,
we're
prime,
gonna
prime, front land that.
we're gonna have life yard forward. There was a big fire down there, and we have
Mm-hmm.
to be suspicious when you get those type of disasters as well in these communities. 50 families were displaced, so that's why we have that notification there. We're gonna follow up with the life yard youth them who are
Yeah,
down there holding the fort. But they've already been approached with NGOs coming in there talking about redevelopment and these
I'm
things. So
telling you,
yeah, this is
that's it.
yeah. So
That's it. That land is gone. I'm serious. The government will find some place and put them. That land gone, my friend. I mean, that's gone. The people who own the landlords who own those places,
yes,
there's so much money involved that they're not going to make poor people come back.
no,
They're not going to allow that. Because the land is worth so much more.
the whole downtown,
Yeah, that's it. The whole downtown.
yeah, it's
You know,
so
that's Kingston.
I know I have a lot of viewers in Jamaica. I want to have these reasonings from a civil engineer, because when you talk about development, you have to realize that if you look at the plans, because there are plans for Kingston already, so even what we're talking about is
Of
not
course.
conspiracy or speculation. You can go online and see redevelopment plans for Kingston, and you see how them design up the place nice, and what Kingston Harbor. The last time I was in Jamaica, which was last year, I was in Jamaica during Hurricane Beryl. You know what I mean? And I got trapped down there during Hurricane Beryl. And when I was leaving, one of the things that struck I was the amount of ships in Kingston Harbor. I'd never
Mm-hmm.
seen so many ships. You know what I mean? And I said, this, because of course, from the pirate days, Jamaica had the second largest natural harbor, I think, in the Western Hemisphere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's becoming a transshipment point. The Chinese are there in a major way. So we have to understand as black people that if we're not thinking development, we will get moved out of the way. We are pawns on the chessboard.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why development. I want to bring civil engineers who are working on multi-billion-dollar projects, so that people can understand where we have to be, thinking if we're going to build an alternative to Babylon. The alternative to that is that you stay small and Babylon shift you around when they feel like it. You know what I mean? It's very important. Hold on, one of my next elders is here. Greeting, I love it, Dejazmatch, and my brethren, brother Boo. Give thanks for all the I do for I and I community here in Washington, D.C., sharing the I time and funds. Rastafari bless the I and family heart of love. And that is our elder, Naya Bingi,
Carlton.
Bingi Carlton, who I will have on this platform as well. Um, and that's the thing, family. I want the item to know that even though we're going on our third year here on the Lion Voice Network, we have not even scratched the surface. I have whole heap of brethren we have not even been on the platform yet who have to come. If I have to convince them, I have to work on Rasbo. Rasbo never just say yes, so easy. I want the item to have to work for my brethren.
So it's good to keep a low profile in these times, brother. Honestly,
but how I convince him, I say, Rasbo, the eye has done such great work and to inspire, because there is a next youth that born and grow in a central Kingston now that see this and say, what? You know what I mean? A man from central Kingston, a KC man, is now civil engineer working on massive infrastructure projects all over the world. That means I can do it. A next youth from down a Free Street can see this and hear the I talk about mathematics and say, what, if I put in the time, I can become something great, because the only thing that mainstream media puts in front of our youth as Rastafari are artists, and I loved the artists them, but that cannot be it. You know what I mean? So that's how I convinced Rasbo to come and do an interview like this and say, Rasbo, we need them need to see civil engineers. They need to see Rastafari who are doing this. And again, when I was a ballhead coming at Howard University and I go to the Naya Bingi House in Washington, D.C., these men were there. These were the men that were holding up the responsibility. Man like Bingi Carlton, Ras Bo, you know what I mean? So many names that we can call, but I really give thanks for the eye. And publicly, I just want to say that the eye has been an inspiration to I. As a Howard alumni, you know what I mean, to see that there was a generation before I and I that holding it, and still holding it. It gives I and I encouragement, of what
True.
we do and what we have to do. We still have to do because Rasbo and I, we still are reason about what we need to do in Africa and these things. So these are the type of people that we have on our team, to do the development. So when I'm talking about developing in Africa, it's not no fantasy thing that we dealing with. You know what I mean? We're taking our time on building the culture so that we can raise the capital to do projects on the continent. And when we do, we can call on a one like Rasbu and his wife. And what's the name of the family business, the company?
My wife's business is Amara Group LLC. So
Yes.
I think she's going to just name it Amara Group because it's going to be a C Corp eventually soon. But for right now, it's a limited liability corporation.
Yes.
And she has been, my wife has actually been, well, she's a registered architect for many, many years, and I'm a registered engineer for many years myself. But she has had her business since 1991. She has not really worked for anybody since that time.
Okay.
And, and I like that as an African woman, living in this country, which is a very hard place to start a business and maintain it. So I'm proud of her, and I admire her courage because she actually has been able to fight in this very difficult environment and keep her head up above water. So I give thanks to God for that.
Beautiful.
I'm
going to give
me, right now I'm building a house in Jamaica. But I tell you the truth, this house is for my children. My place is in Africa. My work, I want the Father to help me so I can actually do something for my people in Africa in the very near future. So building this house is just, I say, just a little place for me and my family, but my work is in Africa, yes. And
Jelani have a space. Jelani can have a space for him family for go all of vibes.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. For my children, as I say, but Africa is where the Father is leading me, and I think that is where ultimately I will end up to really spend most of the rest of my life to help to lift our people up, because that is really what my life is really about, about the upliftment of my people. Understand? Rasta is, for me, Rasta and your people is one, the religion and the upliftment of your people is one. Them don't separate, you can't separate them,
True.
Rastafari and the upliftment of black people is one.
One, truly.
It's one cause. There's no separation.
That's why I always say Rastafari and Pan-African family, because that is the roots of the movement,
Yes.
We just finished talking about Leonard Howell and his coming out to the UNIA. So we're grounded in that Pan-African reality as a liberty. So give thanks, Rasbo.
Yes, sir. Give thanks, my brother.
I really give thanks for the eye. I want the eye just give a final sound to the global Rastafari family. Some words of encouragement. Any other sound that the eye want to share?
All I can say to my global family is that we love each other, we support each other, and work for the betterment of our people, because it's necessary in this time that Africa must be free. Reparation must come to us, but repatriation is impossible if Africa is not united. Remember now, if repatriation is going to happen, we want to be able to go home and go anywhere. So Africa must be united if we are going to repatriate, right? And we need to get reparation for all the wickedness that has been done to us. We need to get some kind of reparation so we can, use whatever we get to build back our communities and make a strong Africa again. Rastafari live forever.
Rastafari live. So there you have it. Our Rastafari and STEM series continues. We are bringing high level, high frequency Rastafari reason into the internet, making sure that we have a place to go for stimulating conversations. We are here. You can join our Patreon, become a member. We just had our second town hall meeting where we are building each other, helping each other to grow, building that community. This is ideal for Rastas who are in areas where you don't have a lot of Rastafari energy where you are and you want to build closer relationships with people. We are also opening up the platform for single brethren and sistren to be able to meet each other there, because that's one of the things that we've been hearing is that we have a lot of single brethren. Right now we have more single brethren in the Patreon than sistren. So if you're a single sistren and you look a nice brethren, come in the Patreon and see. And we're not pressuring people in there, we're just providing the space. We're partnering with Lalabella Institute. They have a couples counseling and a whole protocol in terms of courtship and things like that. So if you see someone in there you're interested in, we will refer you to the Lalabella process. But we're holding space and we're partnering. We're also partnering with Frontline Publishing. Frontline Publishing, Reading Ras on the Frontline is our newest show on the platform. So we are promoting the reading of physical books. I am the Reading Ras. And because I'm the Reading Ras, we are promoting physical books. You can see our logo. We have the merchandise on the website. The Reading Ras merchandise is available. Purchase your Reading Ras merchandise. Support the platform. We also have the Haile Selassie's Ethiopia. And a first book on the birth of His Majesty in the month of July. This channel we are calling month of July Dejazmatch month. So we're going to be doing a series of programming around the birth of Dejazmatch. We're going to have some scholars, different people coming in talking about Dejazmatch, Ethiopian history. The whole month of July is going to be Dejazmatch month. So make sure you tune in for that. We will be announcing some of our guests shortly. And we're going to continue to build out the platform, build out the whole infrastructure of Rastafari independent non-aligned media. We are here doing the work that His Majesty called us to do. Because as we repatriate, we have to control our narrative. As an entertainment creative industry attorney, I started an event called the Jamaica Music Conference, where we were in Jamaica doing a conference every year, and realized that I'm running into all of these Rastafari people in the creative industry, but there's no communication happening between them. There's no institution that's dealing with our affairs. And then the same thing with the media. We don't have any platform. I'm seeing that we don't have any platform that shares my reality. As the IDMC, I came into the movement with civil engineers, with all kind of professional people who were Rastafari. Yes, we had grassroots people, Naya Bingi family too. We had a balance. So when I'm hearing people talk about Rastafari don't do nothing, and Rastafari lazy and this and that, and I hear all these stereotypes. It did not match the reality that I was living. So this is why I created this platform, and this is why I fight with my elders like Rasbu to come on camera. These people don't come on cameras. I was trained that way too, because one of the things I say, Rasbu, is that I wish we had videotaped all of these events that we had at Howard University over the years. You know what I mean? You remember all of the events we used to do at Howard? And I'm saying I wish we had proper recordings of all of these events. We had a Rastafari Student Association at Howard, the Ethiopian Rastafari community. Blackburn was our place. I was one of the former presidents of that institution, but them time they were born camera. You know what I mean? You come in a bingy with a camera, it's problems you bring by yourself. You know what I mean? And we went a long time just with this kind of humble vibes, and we said we just do the work. But then you just do the work, and the people where do follow broadcast them things. So guess what happened? All of the youth them gravitate to the folly, and your work you notice less and less people are show up because the times change. People are on their phones, people are online. So we have to adapt now and come into these spaces. And as I come into these spaces, because I know ones like Rasbo, I have the privilege of picking up my phone and say, Rasbo, you off it, come on a camera. You know what I mean? Because I know all them children frightened to see them father. The whole of them in the chat, in a public setting like this,
Yeah, that's true.
But it's a joy though, you know what I mean? And there's nothing that I have done over the years that Rasbo and the elders in this community have not supported. You know what I mean? I would be a liar to say I ever do anything here locally, and they empower I, within leadership and for do good things for Rastafari. So I have to showcase these men to the world because a lot of strength I receive, and I want to share that strength with the global family. So, ladies and gentle people, we are going to.
I want to say one thing.
Go ahead.
One more thing. You see, to the young people who might be listening here, I want you to understand, nothing that you cannot achieve if you really put your mind to it. If I come from where I was in my life, I know that there's nothing that you can achieve. Because I'm coming from rock bottom, soldiers, rock bottom, and the Lord see that He never want me to be down there, so He help me and deliver me through that I could have get an engineering degree. And it is nothing that children, young people watching tonight, there's nothing that you can do if you put your mind to it. Believe me, it requires work and sacrifice, but nothing good no come easy, my friend. So all our aspirations for Africa, it not gonna come easy, but we have to work toward it.
Please share with what the Rastafari elder told I that changed the life.
Him say the emperor. Him say we need trained Africans to train Africans. We need trained Africans to train Africans. Believe me, it's such a simple little thing, and that transformed my life. But there must have been a fertile ground still for that to transform my life. You understand me? So there must have been some fertility there that could transform me. That the man said that I love the emperor, and I wanted to mean something. I wanted my life to mean something. So I think he saw that in me and said, listen, the emperor said need trained Africans to train Africans. And I said it was transformational for me. No other person something else might be transformational to them. But for me, that is what changed my life.
Give thanks. So we're taking this liberty beyond the slogans, beyond the reggae show, beyond the festival and the flag waving. We love all of that too. But this is deeper. This is a liberty. This is a calling. This is a path. You know what I mean? This is an alternative to Babylon. And we're going to continue to do what we do. Why? Because the time has come for the lions to tell our own story. And
Yes,
this is the lion's voice.
Rastafari. Let's him.
Greetings, this is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the lion's voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use I as an instrument to set the people free. Jah give her the power to chant. Jah give her the power to chant. Rastafari, the lion's voice.
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it takes the dust. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the lion's voice.
Yes, job people, this is Michael Shamai representing. I will say, hear the lion voice, saying it is time for the lions and the lionesses to tell their own story. King David killed Goliath with a stone, we original dread.
The time has come for the lioness to tell her own story.
The time has come for lions to tell their own story. Yes, you're listening to Lion's Voice. I is Dejazmatch hailing from the island of St. Croix. Yeah, I'm bringing to you Rastafari vibes. Can you feel it? Rastafari. Babylon born when Rasta come together. Can you feel it? Rastafari. Because Babylon done when I and I come together. Look how we live together, look how we work together, Oh, Babylon done when Rasta come together. Haile, Rastafari, His Majesty and Empress men in bless. Yeah man, hailing from St. Croix, Rastafari, I hear you.
Aye.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice. Rastafari.
Yo, this is Zelle representing for DejKwasi and the whole lion voice family. Now listen this is the realest thing. Him closer to me than a brother. Him a me G, me a tell him I'm a lion. Me a go tell you how me feel, me a go keep it real. Me nah go wait till him lay down on the mark. Lion voice never talk bad about me yet. Him realness me can't forget. Cause when a game time him never bench me, him never rise up against me yet. No, the friendship connect. It's funny how we can talk in front of a million people and never yet drop no catch. So a loyalty till death. Lion voice, and Selassie representing. Up.
Lion voice.
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jaja soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lamb's voice. Now put it, I Jalifa said that.
Greetings, this is Haile. The time has come for the lions to tell their own story. See? This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir? Haile said that. Are you satisfied? Wipe those tears from your eyes. I'm all alone, still you thought I was telling a lie. This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, Tessa?
I will never stop, hail the Most High, and I will never stop, call Rastafari. Blessed love, this is Kushite representing for the Lion's Voice. We are here to tell our own story, Rastafari.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to the Lion Voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Oh, yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.